on this DNA. We don't yet know what the source of the DNA was. So could it possibly be some fragment from the person who sold the cookers or any materials to the brothers? We simply just don't know at this stage. But obviously, the FBI, the first guess is someone in the United States, a female who had contact with the brothers, and that would be the widow at this stage. So, but this may be nothing, or it could lead to potential proof that he was quite open about the making of the bomb and that the wife knew about it, which then may lead to more co-conspirators. And so at this stage, though, all the evidence is going to lead to hopefully putting the pieces together. But just to repeat what the congressman said, some of it may go nowhere.
Right, but what is, I think, most significant, and the congressman picked up on this as well, are these two links that have now been established apparently by Russian authorities. One between Tamerlan Tsarnaev and this Canadian boxer, William Plotnikov, who was a Muslim convert, just to remind viewers. He fled his home in 2012 to fight against Russian authorities. And then he died in a shootout. But a very similar parallel story to Tamerlan, who was also a boxer, who'd come over here to America and then went back to Dagestan. And we know what happened after that. But similar parallels. And at the same time, the Russian authorities say a connection of possible meetings between Tamerlan and this quite infamous Dagestani jihadist, Mahmoud Mansour Nadal. What do you read into these two connections that may have been established?
Yeah, so I think those are both very significant. And the problem is right now we're dependent on Russian intelligence authorities for these stories right now. What the Russians, what we know now is that possibly some meetings happened in Russia. Everyone looking at this case knows now that those 6 or 7 months are significant to figuring out, does this case lead to a sort of radicalization and training by Tamerlan? When he's there, he brings that information back, and that you have international forces or an international group knowing that he was going to come back and attack a U.S. city, or radicalization of which he's meeting with people, wants to sort of get involved, but then he comes back and does it on his own. That's where both sides of the investigation are looking at, which is the most plausible or which is the story that we want to go with. The Russian evidence right now, I'll tell you, the Russians are coming out with a lot of information after the fact. We now know that the FBI asked them for further information when they said, look at this family, look at this brother. They now have more information. So part of what's unfolding here is Russian intelligence authorities either making amends for failing to give us the information or having kept it in the first place. But neither is a good story. And so I'm very cautious about believing now that the Russian story is sort of perfectly packaged at this stage. And I think there's more to come on the Russian side.